I once worked as a security guard at a very old, still active mental health facility. Over the years, I experienced a string of strange occurrences like voices, moving objects, lights turning on by themselves, shadow figures, and phantom footsteps in empty corridors. Some nights were terrifying. The facility was massive. It was more like a small village. Buildings sprawled across the grounds, connected by a web of underground tunnels. A narrow, mile-long road wound through a forest to reach a lake on the far edge of the property, the largest in the state aside from the Great Lakes. Trees formed a canopy overhead, barely letting any light through. Along that road were reminders of the facility's long history. An old climbing tower patients once used, a forgotten cemetery for those who never left. The road ended in a clearing where DNR, Department of Natural Resources, land began. There was a dock, a bathroom, picnic tables, and access to a hiking trail. It was a peaceful, beautiful spot during the day. At night, it was my job to check the area. Teenagers would sneak in after dark, ghost hunters mostly, parking at the trailhead and hiking deep into the woods. After catching a few, they started parking further away, forcing us to monitor both the DNR area and nearby lots. Part of my shift involved driving out there, checking plates, and keeping tabs on how long the cars had been there. On one night, I decided to park on the road near the old cemetery. It was pitch black, with only moonlight reflecting off of the wake. Despite the eeriness, it was kind of peaceful. That was until I heard a loud, sharp crack behind me. It sounded like a branch snapping just a few feet away, but the closest tree was 10 feet off the road. I jumped up and scanned the area with my flashlight. I found nothing. I convinced myself it was a deer, though it didn't really feel right. The noise was too loud. I climbed back on the hood of the van and kept the flashlight beside me. A while later, there was another loud crack. This time I leapt down, flashlight sweeping the woods. There was still nothing. The sound had come from close by. Whatever it was, I should have seen it. I felt a twinge of unease and moved towards the woods, trying to find footprints or disturbed leaves. Maybe I would catch the glow of an animal's eyes. I did not realize how far I had wandered until I noticed I could not see the road anymore. I turned back. Even with the flashlight, the woods were dense and dark. That is when I felt it, the unmistakable sensation of being watched. My neck tingled, and a chill ran down my spine. Panic crept in. I convinced myself not to look back, afraid something would lunge if I did. I walked faster, then broke into a jog, flashlight pointed at the path I had made. Then, finally, I saw the glint of the van's emblem in my light. Smack. Something struck the top of my head. I stumbled, reached up, and felt blood trickling through my hair. I whipped around, light flashing wildly, and saw it. There was a white deer skull hanging low from a branch. Rotted flesh still clung around the sockets. Its half-attached antlers explained the cut on my head. It looked like it was smiling. I stared at it too long, trying to make sense of it, when footsteps sounded behind me. They started slowly, then turned to sprinting. Someone was charging toward me. Branches snapped, leaves crunched, and I ran. My heart was pounding, and I bolted for the van, terrified I would be grabbed before I made it. I considered radioing for help, but knew it would slow me down. No one was nearby to respond anyway. The van was unlocked. I threw the door open, jumped inside, slammed it shut, and locked it. I grabbed the keys, started it, and reversed, headlights aimed at the tree line, but no one followed me out. I touched my head again. Blood, but not too bad. I sat in the silence, catching my breath, heart still racing. Then I realized something. I would have seen that skull when I walked in. It was not there before. It was right along the path I had taken, more than close enough that I should have hit it the first time. Whoever hung it there had been close. Had they been trying to lure me in deeper? And worse, how did they get back deep into the woods fast enough to chase me? Unless there were two of them. Or worse, someone had gotten into the van while I was in the woods. My stomach dropped. I stepped out of the van, pulled my radio, and hesitated. What was I going to say? I made a series of terrible decisions, and now I might have someone in my back seat. Instead, I went with, "Anon to control. I am at the lakefront, about to move to check the schoolhouse. Requesting radio check-in in 10 minutes, over. Control to N, copy that. We'll be in touch in 10, over." At least someone would follow up if something happened. I circled the van, heart thudding, and opened the side door. It was on an automatic track, so I opened agonizingly slow. The interior was revealed, inch by inch. There was nothing. I sighed in relief, shut the door, and walked toward the driver's seat. That is when I heard it. A loud, manic laugh from behind me. It was high-pitched and unhinged, like something out of a horror movie. I did not turn around. I jumped into the van and sped down the road, the side door still closing behind me. I checked the rearview mirror, expecting someone to burst from the woods. No one did. I finished my rounds at the schoolhouse, then headed to one of the old bunkhouses. I needed to rinse the blood from my hair and collect myself. While cleaning up in the least gross sink I could find, my radio crackled. Control to N. Go for N. Please come to the control room as soon as you are able to. Over. I assumed I was in trouble. Maybe for not reporting the suspicious activity. I dried my hair, put it up as best as I could, and headed to the control room. Inside, one of the women waved me back. She normally had a grandma vibe, but now she looked really serious. Their soundboard, which logged all radio communications, was pulled up. "Were you alone when you made your transmission at the DNR area?" she asked. I bristled, thinking I was in trouble. "Yeah, I was alone." "Were you looking for anyone? You didn't report suspicious activity." I sighed and told her everything except the bleeding. That would have meant paperwork. She nodded solemnly, then played back my transmission. I heard myself. "Anon to control. I am at the lakefront. Radio check-in in 10 minutes. Then silence. "That is the last thing that you said, right?" she asked. I nodded. She pressed play again. Right after my voice was that same laugh, loud and manic, echoing through the speakers now. My blood ran cold. I looked at the other women in the control room. They weren't mad, they were scared. I checked the area. There was no one there, I said. She stared at me and then shrugged, and then she told me to hit that delete button. I've got some decent mall security guard stories. This is my first real job after delivering papers for 10 years. I am working with a security firm that is contracted to a fairly large mall. It is my first day at work after training, doing a 12-hour night shift. The firm is cheap and only put 2 guards on night shift in a large mall in a heavily populated area. I'm working the cameras and radio while the second guard is out patrolling. The office I am in is located on a quiet hallway leading to the exit. I am pretty relaxed, just reading a book since the entire mall is locked. I hear a child singing a lullaby echoing down the hallway. Maybe it's just in my head. I look at the cameras and see a little girl walking around. Oddly enough, the girl's appearance on the cameras is not continuous. It's almost like she is running between each camera, but every time I see her, she is at a walking pace. I start to panic, but I do not tell the other guard, so I don't get made fun of in the morning for seeing apparitions. The girl is moving closer and closer to the hallway, leading to the office. I see her on the camera again. She is at the beginning of the hallway, leading to the office. I get out of my chair to look down the hallway, but right as I get up, she walks by the office half door and looks at me. "Hi, Mr. Security Guard." I ask her if she is lost. "Nope, I am just going home." She continues to walk down the hallway towards the exit. I run to the half door to look through to see where she is going. She is nowhere to be found. I check the exit and it is locked. I get back to the office and see the outside cameras. I see her walking away in the dark parking lot. All of the cameras are motion activated, so there must have been some movement for me to see her on them in the first place. I ask the other guard to make sure all the mall entrances are locked. The entire mall is completely locked. I look on the recorded footage. There is no one there, but that particular footage should not have even been recorded unless the camera picked up movement. I got a few more from working there. I will tell more if there is more interest. I am on one of the patrols during night shift. I was a rooftop patrol. The rooftop did not have any lights, and you had to bring your own flashlight. This being my first job, and not giving a fuck, I never carried a flashlight. 2-man shift meant that one guard had to do it all by himself. This was particularly troublesome as it was pitch black, trip hazards due to roof pipes, and the door also had a one-sided lock that you had to keep ajar with a 2x4. I am doing the rooftop patrol by myself one night, and have this weird feeling like someone was following me as I make my way to the roof. The hallway to the roof has HVAC machines, and as I walk, the machines start whining. Okay, kinda spooked, but whatever. I make my way to the roof door. As I open the door, something moves in the darkness. I can't see shit, but a silhouette moves across the dots of the nearby apartment lights. Probably just a bird, so I don't call it in, and place the 2x4 in the doorway so I don't get locked out. It's the first time being by myself on the roof, and I can't help but just feel watched. I would not be able to see anyone up there either, unless someone walked in front of me, and I saw the lights from the condos being blocked. I tried to feel my way around so I don't trip, but the roof is almost the size of a football field, and there are so many pipes. I am walking around, and the radio starts buzzing, and I hear some words, but they are not in English. I hear a screeching noise some distance in front of me. I hear the crunch of gravel under footsteps moving closer to me. My heart starts beating. My hair is raised. Fuck this. They do not pay me enough, so I turn around and prepare to run for the door. I don't know what direction I am facing because it is pitch black, and the light given off from the door is no longer there because the 2x4 has been removed. I start running in the direction where I think the door is, with the crunching gravel noise somewhere still behind me. I trip up on a pipe, get back up, and start running again. The crunching noise is farther away now. I find the door, and by some miracle, the door has not been locked because the spring was too stiff, and the deadbolt did not recess completely. I open up the door, run down the hallway and food court. I radio the other guard that there is someone on the roof as I am running. I hear the screeching of food court chairs behind me, but I just keep running to the office. The other guard runs to me. I tell him what happened, and we both go up there, this time with a flashlight. We both look around but see nothing. We lock the roof door and go to the office to report to the firm. As we walk down from the food court, we hear more screeching of the chairs. Go back and there is nothing. Report to the firm and lock the office door and sit shoulder to shoulder, scared as fuck, just watching the cameras. When I left, there were still reports of the screeching of the chairs in the food court at night. I talked to a buddy, and it turns out it was most likely a bunch of robbers. They dug a hole through the roof to get into the Apple store. They fell into a sunglasses store. Hey, hope you've enjoyed the story so far. If you want to hear more, make sure to subscribe, like the video, and leave a comment because it lets YouTube know you like the content and helps more people to see these videos. My next big goal for the channel is 100,000 subscribers, and as a celebration, I will be doing a Q&A video once we hit that goal. Thank you, and back to the stories. I've decided I will never work in security ever again. Mind you, I held the job for over 7 years. I have faced dangerous situations, and even life-threatening ones, but I always knew I could defend myself or call 911. But what if you could not defend yourself? That is the exact situation I found myself in just a few nights ago. I worked for my uncle's security company. He hired me right out of high school. All I needed was a guard license and my own gear. Working for him was pretty easy. It was mostly daytime shifts, where the most excitement was asking loiterers to move on. A few times I got into fights, but pepper spray always got the job done. Things changed after my father died. I picked up extra shifts during his illness to help out, juggling work and taking care of him at home. After he passed away, I became my younger brother's main guardian. My uncle offered me a new night shift that fit better with my responsibilities. I accepted without question. The site was an hour's drive away. It was 2 identical office buildings, nicknamed the Sisters, separated by an open courtyard. Various businesses rented the offices during the day. My job was to secure both buildings at night. I was to lock all of the doors, arm alarms, and then wait out my shift in the security car. I met my uncle outside the east side. He showed me the layout and how to arm the alarm systems. He gave me the codes by text. The job was simple. Make sure no one was left inside, collect any valuable items for lost and found, and lock everything up. We walked each floor of the east building, starting from the ground up. There were glass-walled offices, cubicles, clean desks, nothing unusual, except for a bag of chips on a desk. My uncle just told me to ignore it. Then we moved on to the west. The buildings were mirror images. We did the same routine and locked it up. My uncle had a lot of trust in me. He left after his third cigarette, and I was alone. The first few hours passed by quietly. I sipped an energy drink, listened to podcasts, and watched videos. Occasionally, I would stretch my legs or patrol the grounds in my car. Nothing ever really happened out there. There was only one road in, and no signs of trespassers. I started wondering why they even needed a night guard. Then, sometime after midnight, I saw it. A light moving across one of the windows on the 8th floor of the west building. It wasn't a passing car. It was too slow and too steady to be that. It looked like someone was walking with a flashlight. I shut off my car, got out, and stared. The alarm had not been triggered. That meant whoever was inside either had access or got in while the building was still open. I unlocked the doors. The system gave its warning beeps, and I quickly disabled the alarm. I went straight to the 8th floor. The elevator doors opened to pitch black silence. I announced myself and shouted, "Security." Nothing. No response. I checked the hallway, opened up each door, and searched the cubicles. No one was there. I was about to give up when I glanced across the courtyard. I saw another light. This time, it was in the east building. I killed my flashlight. The other light did not disappear. It was not mine. I cursed under my breath. Maybe it was a light we missed, or maybe a reflection, but I had to check. I turned to head to the elevator when a door behind me slammed shut hard. I jumped back, nearly tripping. My heart was pounding. I looked down the hallway. Nothing but silence. I steeled myself, approached the door that had slammed, and threw it open. Nothing there. There was no one. I backed away, my breath shallow. I needed to leave. I hit the elevator button, eyes never leaving that door. The elevator took longer than it should have. Inside, the smell hit me. It smelled like tobacco smoke, thick and clinging. My uncle had smoked earlier, but the elevator had been clean going up. Now it was suffocating. My stomach churned. I held my breath all the way down and rushed outside. The light in the east building was gone, but I still had to check it. I entered, disabled the alarm, and rode to the 8th floor. I checked every single level from top to bottom. All clear. But on the first floor, something caught my eye. On the desk, where we had seen the chips earlier, the bag was burst open, crumbs everywhere. It looked like someone had slammed a fist onto it. It was the only sign anyone had been here. I spun around, scanning the area. Still no one. Then I felt a breath on my ear. I whipped around with my flashlight raised, but still there was no one. My nerves were fried. I could not breathe. I just wanted out. I did not reset the alarm. I locked the doors and walked toward my car. That is when I froze. There was someone inside my car. Or something. A figure. It was featureless, dark and shaped like a person. It was just sitting in the driver's seat. My flashlight could not reach it, and I did not dare get any closer. I couldn't call the police. What would I even say? I just stood there, staring at the shadow in my car. Eventually, I sat near the east building entrance and waited. I don't remember falling asleep, but I must have dozed off in the early dawn. When I woke up, another car had pulled into the lot. A short Hispanic woman had stepped out. I waved, relieved to see her. The shadow figure was gone. She asked me to walk her up to the 8th floor. I hesitated and then agreed. There was no tobacco smell in the elevator this time. But when the doors opened, the floor was a disaster. Every office chair was overturned. Trash cans flung from cubicles. It looked like a storm had hit. She sighed and started picking things up. No surprise in her expression, like she had seen it all before. In one meeting room, The chairs had been stacked on the tables. She gave me a sharp look. Whether she blamed me or thought I'd failed to stop whoever did it, I could not say. After we finished cleaning, she thanked me and said that she could manage on her own until her daughter arrived. I nodded and left. Back in the car, I saw missed calls and texts from my uncle asking why I had not clocked out. I just told him I could not work there anymore. He did not try and argue with me about why. Security guard here. I had tons of experiences working various jobs. I am working at a truck lot in the early morning hours. I am in a tiny guard shack and I am sleepy. I hear rustling. I almost fall out of my chair when I hear the rustling. I observe the nearby hill line. Something runs by on my side of the fence. Oh fuck no. I try to shut the door. The shit is crooked on its hinges and will not shut. I write in my daily activities report, 0200, saw chupacabra on lot, fix the goddamn door. My employer reads this daily. I actually wrote that because I do not give a fuck and was planning on quitting soon. The next story is better. I am in a golf cart, probably at like 4 a.m. I am bored as shit and it is time for donuts. The kind you do, not the kind you eat. I am cruising around, shredding up the parking lot. I catch a glimpse of reflective eyes in my headlights over toward the building. I drive over. The subject is located between the building and a giant wall in a garden just under a tree. It looks like a small dog, just digging a hole. I am watching it for a while in the safety of the cart, inching closer. The thing looks small, so I decide to chase it off so it stops ruining the garden. I exit the cart and walk over with my flashlight shining on it. I'm making noise. It doesn't care. It just keeps frantically digging. I still cannot make out what it is. I can only see its eye reflection. I get pretty damn close, maybe within 60 feet, stomping to get its attention. It stops digging and instantly stands up on 2 legs. It is not a fucking dog. It's like 6 feet tall. I freeze in my tracks, with my hand on my .380 in my pocket. I am not stupid enough to not carry while doing something that makes bums want to stab you. I back up slowly, get back in my cart, and peel out of there. The thing starts heading deeper into the garden. I radio my coworker who is inside the building. Here's what I say. There's something in the garden, some kind of large animal. Last seen headed your way. Stay inside. He radios me back that he is going to check it out from the window over the garden. 5 minutes later, he radios me back and says, "Get inside, get inside, get inside now." I peel off toward the door and go inside. I meet him by the window. He says he saw something huge that looked like a person with glowing eyes, but moved around not like a person, like its joints were weird and it twitched while it walked. We were watching for the rest of the night with our phones ready to film it, but it never comes back. It's now morning time. We go to check the garden. There is a giant hole like 4 feet wide and 3 feet deep. There is thick root ripped up like nothing. We check on it next shift. The hole is now filled in. It creeps me out because it could have been maintenance, or it could have been that the thing came back and buried whatever it was trying to bury. Hi X, let's share some of our work stories. Ghost related or unsettling stuff, including dangerous people or situations. Be me. I am a Mexican security guard, working for a nice company at the time, stationed at a dangerous place, at a sort of safe room, like cellar, vault thingy. Imagine the building of an old factory, but inside there is boxes, machines. I can distinguish a couple heavy-duty hammer things, and some sewing machines, but others I have no idea, and safes. I have insurance for me and my family. I normally just have to walk around or read on my phone, but as I am in an ugly zone, sometimes I have to kick out hobos or shoot my shotgun at the sky to scare lacras. I have actually been shot at before, but wasn't hit. I returned fire, but they drove off. I have not had any incidents like that since then. So anyway, I was standing at my phone box behind the gate and saw a car approaching awkwardly, like they were trying to look normal but couldn't. They stop in front of the gate and a guy waves at me to make me get out of my box. It's a bulletproof box. I don't know if they were aware of that or not. At this point, I am in yellow alert, thinking maybe they are lost or something like that. I scream, "What?" in my "I don't like you" voice. He stops, and his hand goes under the window while licking his lips. My training kicks in to drop the phone and go under the desk while getting ready to shoot my shotgun. Bang, bang, bang. My adrenaline is flowing. I just take up my shotgun and shoot it where I think the car was. Like, imagine Gears of War, the way you shoot while you're in cover, over your head while not looking. I keep shooting in slow intervals, like they taught me in training, while radioing the local police. I can hear that some of my shots hit the car, and at some point, the guy or someone else, cause I can hear them shout "Verga," and I then proceed to hear the tires screeching, and them driving off. I later found a couple of drops of blood at the gate, so at least I hurt them. But needless to say, I was shitting my pants the whole time, and for the scary ones. I forgot to mention that my arm and shoulder hurt like hell after that. Do not try to shoot a shotgun with one hand, even if you are a big guy like me. Anyway, this next one is from a couple of years ago, back when I was starting as a security guard. I was working at an abandoned hospital that had just closed its doors. Right now it's closed. It was called San Rafael, or something like that. And let me tell you, that place was hell on earth. When I was contracted, I did not even have any experience in nothing but fights, and really needed the money, so I accepted. I already had my military service, so I thought I would be okay, even though I did not have any insurance. According to the night guard, a funny old guy, they were like exorcisms and tortures performed by the hospital crew in the past. I didn't really believe it. It's normal for people to try and scare the new guy, but I will say that the hospital had a sort of religious vibe. Like some windows were of colors like in churches, and a big-ass Jesus in the lower floor. It always gives me chills, even though I always don't know how to say it in English, but I make a cross in my chest. Anyway, to the story. I have been there for 2 months, and so far, I have only had children doing graffiti, or cats inside. Nothing serious. The hospital was divided into 4 floors. I count the rooftop as a floor. I never had any problems in the upper floors, but the lower ones, those were a different story. There were rooms with dirty mattresses in them, and stuff like that, so I always feel uncomfortable in them. One day, at like 7 or 8 p.m., my shift ends at 10 p.m. I wanted to go down the stairs to check on the lower floors, cause I had been hearing noises all night. Not abnormal ones, like this place was old, but not that old to make these types of noises. I was preparing myself to book it off if I saw 3 or more teens, but did not find anything. One thing I do remember is the coldness of the hallway, and a feeling of being watched like every step that I took. It was like a red flag in my brain. I did not dare to continue, and just went to the main gate to wait for my buddy. Vime, I am working as a security guard. I am working at a factory overnight. They don't keep the place running on weekends, so they need security to keep out stupid teenagers and drugged out bums. I am watching House of Cards on my phone. My watch beeps, which means it's time to do my hourly sweep. I grab my flashlight and make the rounds. The factory I'm working at is a steel house. It's mainly to make parts for Japanese cars. They melt steel down into these bars the size of telephone poles and store them for later use. I am walking by this huge shelf where they keep said steel bars. All of a sudden, I hear, clear as day, someone whisper, "Stop." I shine my flashlight around. I do not see anything. I take another step. I said stop. I get my shoulder grabbed from behind. My blood runs, cold as ice. I hear creaking. All of a sudden, one of these huge steel bars comes crashing down on the concrete floor. It is so fucking loud. It misses me by less than a foot. I trip backwards and fall flat on my ass. I shine my flashlight around, but I do not see anything. The place is pretty open. I sit there and stare at this steel bar that would have fucking crushed me completely. I swallow, shake it off, and walk back to my little office to call my boss and tell him what happened. I leave out the part where my ass was saved by a ghost. I still think about this experience, nearly every single day.